Isaac,
Hello, mate.
welcome to my abode.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for making the treacherous journey from the south coast.
Trip up, yeah. We made a weekend of it, so hanging out with the boys. It's good.
Was it a good drive?
Yeah, chilling. Left yesterday morning, left about 6, I think. And, yeah, just headed up.
Early bird,
Yeah.
catching the worm.
I get up early anyway, so it's normal, mate.
Is that like a normal day in the life?
Well, I'm normally up earlier. Well, I was up about 5, left at 6, and I'm normally up about 5 anyway, doing bits and bobs for work and stuff. And then, yeah, so it's fine.
Not out of the ordinary for you?
No, it was fine.
Well, that's kind of like the same for me, really. I'm an early bird, and it sucks on a weekend, actually, doesn't it? Because when you wouldn't mind just maybe having a lie.
Yeah, but I quite like
up.
it because that sort of time in the morning, no one else is about, and you can actually use that time to be quite productive. Whereas everyone else is like sleeping and chilling, and I find it good. Like I'm always on the computers, catching up on emails for work, and like if I've got write some quotes and stuff, that's the time to do it. A lot of people I know their time is in the evening. I'm useless in the evening. Like stayed at Heskey's last night. We were just watching some videos and stuff, some riding videos. As soon as it got to 9:30, mate, I was like, oh, I need to tap out. Yeah, but then up again early, so. It's good.
I'm glad to hear that because that's actually something that we both share because I'm absolutely useless of an evening.
Yeah. I know.
So you came up, you stopped in London?
No, just came straight from Brighton.
Just came straight through?
Yeah.
Right, sound.
Yeah, it was good.
So, Isaac, you are a guy that we have crossed paths quite a few times over the years.
Definitely, yeah.
So I don't suggest that I know you that well. So why don't we go back to the beginning and talk about sort of your childhood and where BMX came into it?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Brighton, which is where I live now. It was a bit of my time living in Brighton when I was younger was a bit kind of how to describe it. My dad left when I was about 4, and it was he was not a very nice guy. I don't think, I've had no contact with him since I was 4. My mum had a second marriage after that, which is my sister's dad. And that, again, wasn't the happiest of marriages. I think basically my mum was just fed up of living in Brighton and it wasn't the happiest time for our family. We ended up moving to Essex when I was about 9 years old, I think.
Right.
And that's where I sort of like got involved in skateboarding. Well, I say got involved in skateboarding. I had a skateboard and I'd like to watch skating, but I couldn't skate for shit, it's just like
amen to that.
Yeah. So from there, I was watching skating on the Extreme Sports Channel, and then I'd watch BMX. It was I don't know what road falls it was, but it was definitely a road falls. You might remember they used to show them on Extreme
on the Extreme
Sports
Channel on Sky. I'm pretty sure they did have like a road fools or. Yeah, it must have been a road fools, not like an episode of.
No, they used to show them.
Like
I remember they used to show them, and I remember seeing one, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." And my mum had a new boyfriend at the time, and I started badgering her, I want a BMX, and the new boyfriend, he must have been trying to impress my mum because he was like, "Oh, if you can save up half the money for your BMX, I'll cover the other half." Right. So I saved up. I think it was like 80 quid. Saved up from my paper round, and
that's impressive because just for point of reference, like my paper round paid about £16 a week, and
yeah, I think mine was the same.
I got paid that on a Saturday, and then by Sunday I'd probably got about £1. So
yeah,
save up 80 quid.
Yeah, gave it a good go. A couple of months of paper round, and it's funny actually because when you messaged me, I watched Owen's podcast, and you were talking about your first BMX, and I remember my BMX as like quite a normal bike. When you and Owen was chatting, I thought, oh, I'll look up mine. Mate, it was an absolute shit show. Honestly, it was like,
Piranha.
I'll have to send you a photo because I found one. It was a Barracuda.
Yeah, that's Barracuda Mojo.
Yeah. It was something like that, and mate, it was.
They were terrible bikes, weren't they?
And I used to just like razz around the streets, There wasn't a skate park at the time in the town. One got built quite recently after. So I'd just be jumping stair sets and I just sort of got like, I was quite hyped on it. I remember because sports were never my thing in school, and it was quite nice to actually be able to be like, without sounding like big-headed, I could be good at something.
Oh yeah, 100%.
What, all I needed to do, I could was just put my mind to it. I could jump some stair sets. Me and my friends would razz about, and it was good. I think that's what hooked me on it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do you know, there's 2 points I want to pick up in that.
Yeah.
Firstly, I used to say regularly to parents at the shop when I was at Foundation full-time that not every kid is a footballer.
No.
And not every kid is a cricketer or a rugby player or whatever. And, there's obviously so much opportunity in alternative sports these days. But, it's always really good when you see parents interested, because at the end of the day, they are embracing the fact that their son, Billy, might not be a footballer or whatever.
Yeah, doesn't want to go down that route.
Yeah, but he might be really good on a bike. And, and consequently, that's the start probably for...
The start of something,
for half the people, probably half the guys in this room, you know what I mean? It's
definitely.
It's one of those. So
but I do think that, for our generation of BMXers, it was it was almost sort of rebelling against your parents. Whereas now I can see it's definitely changing into something which is it's a positive thing, absolutely. But it's changing into something that the parents are really involved in. You see parents at the skate park, and you go to these contests, and there's family trips there, and it's changing, but it's definitely good to get these young kids involved now.
Yeah, I see. I can't relate fully with the rebellion part for me. I was just there's a group of us, 4 or 5, and there was one lad in our group who was clearly, I'm going to call him the leader. He wasn't, but he was the one who knew everything. He was the first guy to bring Ride UK to the table or whatever and go, look at this.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we were all into bikes. I had a conversation with one of our riders, Tom, yesterday about this. I actually, I'll come out with it. I'll become clean. I actually had a mountain bike first.
Yeah.
And I had a fairly, I'm going to say, reasonable mountain bike. It was about 700-800 quid. And I bought it because my grandma bought me some premium bonds when I was born. She bought me 100 quid worth of premium bonds when I was born.
Oh,
and I won 800 quid when I was 13.
That's decent. Yeah.
And I didn't even know I had them. And then my dad just turned up and he's like, oh, you got to check here.
And that's a serious amount of money at that age.
Oh, God, yeah. So, in true form, I waxed it on a bike.
Bosh.
straight away.
It's decent, though.
So I bought this mountain bike and I got into riding that. And I just got priced out of the market because basically the bike was 800 quid, but the upgrade for the forks was $1,000. And I was just
And where do I go from here?
And I just got priced out. That's how I got into BMX. But the other point I was going to pick up about what you said, which was about your first bike, there was some terrible bikes around that time.
Yeah, completes have really upped the game, didn't
they?
they?
God, they were just your basic entry level complete bike. There was a guy who used to ride with us who had a Ruption TX5, 169 quid complete bike at the time, and one of the older lads in our group, we had these jumps that were built into the side of a hill in the village where we live. And he said, I'm going to do a 360, but, I'll do it on your bike because your bike's better than mine. And to my mate with the TX5, sent the 360 and just bent the back wheel in half, straight.
Oh, mate.
The lad had only had the bike 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
But they were just naff around that time, weren't they?
Yeah. It was crazy. I think I broke that bike jumping down stair sets.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I had a mongoose after that. I don't know if you remember, there was a bike, it was a Simon Tabron.
Yes.
Signature complete. Was it called the RAF?
I can't just remember. I had a mongoose around that time, and I thought that might have been a Simon Tabron one, but mine was I think Rob Ridge still rides it today, or he did. It was a AKA bike, and I remember Rob Ridge riding it.
Yeah.
He was in the magazine riding it, and I thought I was the bee's knees when I seen Rob Ridge riding it.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not sure. So he was, but it was a decent bike.
I read a write up on it in Ride. There must have been some sort of backhander going on because it had a gleaming write up, and I thought I've got to get this bike. And my mum bought me it was my birthday. My mum bought me a CD, and I was like, "Oh, cheers, mum! Like, nice one." Thought that was it. Went downstairs, and there was this like, it's one of the most amazing things my mum's done for me. Like, brand new, and she knew it was the bike I wanted because I'd walk past the shop and I'd just stop to look at it. You know, you'd like stare into the shop and be like, "Wow, look at these shiny bikes," and then it was there in the living room. It was I rode that for like maybe 3 years. Broke that eventually, but
there is no feeling like that new bike day when you were a kid.
Yeah, when you're younger, yeah.
Yeah, that was just like...
Definitely.
It was just an unreal feeling.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
So you'd moved to Essex at this point and you were riding...
Yeah, at the beginning, I started riding in Essex. I moved to Essex when I was 8. I think I started riding when I was like 12.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was my first BMX in 2003. Yeah.
So that'd have been, I'm just trying to work that out on my time scale. So it's not long really after I got into riding. So very similar time, similar bikes.
Yeah.
So when was there like a local scene? You know, did you ride with anybody from that area, or was there?
Yeah.
You say there wasn't a skate park, but then
they built. It was
after.
Sort of like, you know, these cheap council parks. It was a mini ramp, had a hip and a flat bank. But I rode there so much, you know. I'd be there every opportunity I could, and eventually, I don't know if you remember in the Ride UK magazine there was a skate park directory. Yeah. So I'd look in there and I knew this park, Rom.
Yeah.
So eventually I got my mum to take me there, and after that it was every weekend at Rom, you know. And at the time, some of you might know Ian Stokes. He still does the microphone at Rom, but he's an absolute legend. But he was running the whole park. And the scene there was like insane. There'd be probably like 50, 60 riders there every weekend, and everyone had come from different areas. It was an amazing time. Like,
I'm trying to figure out what the setup would have been at that time, because obviously, you know, Rom's a historic park.
Yeah.
Oldest park in Britain, isn't that right?
I believe so. There's probably someone who's going to argue that, but it's definitely like one of the first parks. There's like Harrow was a similar time.
Yeah.
But I think Rom's up there with them.
So it was obviously quite like a, you know, old, you know, the snake run, the bowl, and whatever.
Yeah,
it's
all the
like...
concrete. But what I love about Rom is they've always had wooden ramps in the park.
So that's what I was just wondering. What was the setup at the time? Because I know they got like a box now and like a wall
so it
ride.
Was similar sort of setup. They had an indoor mini ramp where it was they'd built like a scaffold type building over it in the corner. That actually burnt down a few years ago, which is a great shame. But they had the jump box, vert wall, all of these sort of like classic ramps, but mixed in with that old concrete. There were just lines for days.
Yeah.
And I remember going there and watching like all the older guys ride, and I'd just be like, wow, it was. It's
very interesting actually, because you saying this, because I guess if I look at your riding today,
I
would say a lot of that is influenced
from Rom.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's crazy how a venue can sculpt the way you ride.
Yeah. Rom's definitely a massive part in that. Just going fast through the concrete and bits like that is, it was a huge influence on my riding in the early days. Definitely. Well, to this day, you know, I still love riding there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's like place. I went down with Hesketh to the jam some years ago now, and that's the first time I'd ever been. Like I'd never been to Rom beforehand. I remember like some of the elements of it. The mini ramp that was in the corner, is that the one that you said that burnt down? That was sort of like beyond the bowl.
It was so if you walk in on the right, there was a mini ramp in the back corner, but then there was also a mini ramp there that got taken down. I think it just sort of fell apart over the years.
Yeah.
There was a metal red spine mini that was like 4 foot, I want to say, and pretty much vert. I'd kill for a session on that now. Like, you know, spine, like double coping spine tech. I can ride that for days now. I love it. And I'd love to have a session. I remember it was like tricky to jump back in the day, but mate, I'd love to ride that now. But that went, I think I know Rom had a sort of downtime where they shut down for a bit, and then now it's been taken over again.
Is it a heritage site now or something like that?
I know it was. I don't. And
yeah, because obviously with its history, it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because it's got such a, you know, an early history in
Yeah.
riding and skateboarding in the United Kingdom. You know, it definitely should be if it isn't.
Yeah, there's a few parks in England, like Harrow as well, needs to have the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Respect, yeah.
So were you? So you know, with the first time you went to ROM, how old would you have been roughly?
Must have been 13.
So it was quite quickly after you.
Yeah.
After you got into the whole thing.
Within that year.
That first year,
I started going to ROM, and that sort of really opened my eyes up to like what BMX was all about. You know.
Did you have a local shop at the time?
It was Volt. Do you remember Volt BMX?
Yeah.
But it wasn't really local. We used to get the train there.
Yep.
We used to go into London, change, and get the train back out to Volt.
Right.
Spend money.
All our money.
Yeah.
Handing it over to the BMX shop.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, well, I spent obviously, you know, there was a lot of youths who came through Foundation BMX did exactly that. That's what I'm more than familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's always funny because, you know, BMX comes in waves sometimes, and it's always been like said that, you know, a wave can be 5 years or 10 years or whatever, but there's always like a really big buzz time, and around that time we're talking about, I thought BMX was in like a really, really big.
Oh, it was an amazing place.
It was in a really big place, and it didn't really peak until probably the end of 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So it was just in a really good place at that point, and you know, shops were good, scene was good, riding was good. It was a really good time. Basically,
definitely.
All round, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There was so many people riding.
How long were you riding before you sort of reached what you would probably say a competent level? Were you pretty quick at getting to like a competent level, or were you a slow burner? I mean, a bit like myself, I'm still slow burning now.
Oh no, mate. I want to say 3 years of riding, maybe 4.
So when did you first? When did your first sort of sponsorship come along, or when did somebody inquire about?
It was James Hitchcock's. He had a distro called Zeal.
Yeah, Zeal.
So I got sponsored on Mankind, which has been my sponsor throughout my whole riding career.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. About 15 years I've rode for them.
And were you riding with James at the time, or was he just at the same sort of skate park, same scene?
So I got to know him a little bit because he would come to Rom Jam, and then I think there's a guy called Bruiser who rode for a company called Sputnik. And I was really good friends with Bruiser, so I got to know James through there.
Yeah, he distroed them as well, didn't he?
Yeah. And then, he just, after a while, he was like, do you want to ride for Mankind? Got to know the guy, Christoph, who's like a great friend now, from Germany. And I was on the same company for the whole of my riding, 15 years.
So, how old would you have been when James approached you about riding for Mankind?
I must have been 17.
So there was a good period of time, 4 years.
Yeah, there was.
Where basically you were just doing your own thing, and then James came along and sort of noticed the talent and said, do you want to do this? I guess initially just with Zeal, I guess.
Yeah, it was.
Originally.
Yeah. And when Christoph reached out to me, I went to Simple Session, I made finals, and I think at the time for me that was quite a big deal to be in the finals of like a big contest like that. Christoph must have like seen it and hit me up and was like, "Oh, you can come on to basically like I wouldn't say a pro team, but we'll start sending you parts and you can have some help with flights and stuff." So that was, I couldn't tell you what year that was. Maybe 2016, 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's got to be quite a thing for somebody like a brand owner to reach out to you and say, we want you to do this. We want to help you with that.
I was hyped at the time. Yeah, I was like...
I'm trying to think, because if it was Simple Session, it was probably that year that me and Eskif were there. And was you staying in the room with Jason?
Oh, they were some times. Yeah. I had some amazing times travelling with Jason. Me and him was like, it was a party.
I have such fond memories of Simple Session. I tell people now, that, I mean, it's probably just as good now. those years that me and Chris went, and we stayed in the parking where the riders were staying.
Yeah.
And effectively, me and him are just partying and going to the competition. And there was something surreal about getting up at like 11 a.m. because you've been out till 5 a.m. and jumping into an elevator
crazy,
with Ruben Alcantara.
Yeah.
Just looking at each other as if to say, like...
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Aaron Ross gave me a pair of shoes in the elevator once. That was quite nice.
Nice one.
Oh, no. I felt like a right fanboy. I was just kind of like, people have often said to me, "Are you Aaron Ross?" And so people like getting me and him mixed up. It's just like crazy. Yeah. But then this guy gives me a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
But no, those Simple Session years were great.
That sort of time you could go to a contest and you could be with like the riders that you watch on the DVDs, and it was like, I don't know if it's maybe changed now, but like I sort of like saw those riders as fully superstars. So, and going out to ride the contest and being like riding with them was like amazing experience.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you need to take away from that is that you were there for a reason, and you had that level of competency to be there, Isaac. You weren't just there as a wild card.
Yeah, I guess.
You don't make finals at Simple Session by chance, do you?
No, I guess, but yeah, you know what I mean though. They're all these like 100%. Guys that you idolise, and then all of a sudden you're there and they're
sat in a line with them.
Yeah, and they're having dinner next to you and stuff like that. It's
it is those fantastic.
Times. Yeah.
Until Ben Murphy tries to drink 4 pints in one go in Vapiano's.
Oh mate, yeah. It was the partying, wasn't it? The partying was insane. You couldn't write some of the stuff that happened. Like, amazing.
Do you know there's one thing I'll come clean with you, because this just had me in stitches for the whole week that we were in Estonia. Jason, because of his accent, refers to you as Isaac all the time. And it's just his accent.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. And then me and Chris must have fell apart 14 times after hearing it, because all we could think about was a new Apple product launch called the Isaac, and it being something amazing. To do with you. Something to do with you. And honestly, I guess, it was just, I'll never forget that, because me and him must have fell apart 4 or 5 times. It's just every time he'd shout you, he'd go, "Isaac, are we going for dinner?"
Yeah.
It's just one of those funny moments that I'll never forget about Simple Session, put it that way.
Yeah. So, it's time, innit?
So, did you make finals the first year you went to Simple Session? Was that the first time you'd been?
Yeah, I want to say, yeah.
I mean, that's some achievement.
Yeah.
Because that lineup is always stacked.
Yeah, I was well happy with that.
I'm going to say probably to be in those sort of top 25 people. I mean, there's some serious names in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
How did you feel about the controversy? Because there'd always be that controversy about Simple Session, that you'd got Garrett Reynolds trying to compete with Daniel Sandoval,
I like it, because I think coming from our generation, we would ride street, we'd go and ride park, we'd go to the trails and jump some jumps. You were just sort of a BMXer. I know now it's like a lot more categorised, and, you want to be, there's street guys, there's park guys, and it's almost completely different. But at the time, I love it, and seeing what everyone makes of that course.
Yeah,
that's one thing I think is like missing, in contests now, because, you get rided, everyone's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got Garrett Reynolds, Josh Harrington, Gary Young, all riding the same course, it was like there's so much variety of what's going to happen.
And you can, there's like different interpretations of the course, and
what
obstacles people use for this,
and who's going to do the crazy lines, but also who's going to do crazy tech tricks, and who's going to do a mad trick on the rail, and all in one weekend,
Yeah. I must admit, I look at it like that. I think it was like, it's hard. I wouldn't say I want the job of the judges.
No.
Because it is difficult to compare a technical line on a rail ledge setup to a guy jumping in from the crow's nest,
But don't you think it was less about being judged, it was more about doing something cool?
Yeah.
Some of my best memories of riding contests have been like, the judges have like, you've stopped being judged, you've used all your runs, but you just want to get that trick done.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's I think like at the time it was all about like just getting what you want done, not so much scoring points. And
I suppose there's probably an element of riders at those competitions that are your bigger US names, for example, that have travelled a long way.
Yeah.
Kind of want to go home with a check, don't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's always been that. Yeah.
And so they're probably the ones who are most disgruntled because you went with no idea of that. You were just like, I'm just going to ride.
Yeah.
And then you made finals. You're stoked.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're just doing it to enjoy yourself as best you can, aren't you? Because you're like...
Exactly, yeah. Hard work's done.
Yeah, the hard work's done.
Yeah.
And I guess it's that mentality that made it probably quite enjoyable for you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because you're not trying to compete with Kevin Barraza and whoever who's trying to who wants to take that check home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of quite good for you in that sense. Is that you there's less pressure. You've done the hard work, like you just said.
Yeah. But there's always been those riders who are there for they want to make the money. But I do feel like there's also like a group of professional riders who would be, for me, Gary Young is like the perfect example that he's there and he's just going to find the lines, do some cool shit. And like, I can't imagine riders like that. It's more important for them to like ride so they're happy with their riding as opposed to win the contest. That's how it's always been for me riding contests as well. Like if I come away and I'm hyped how I rode, that's like me done.
Over the moon.
Yeah.
It's a good outlook to have, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I can definitely see that that's changed now with riders, getting like annoyed with the judging.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like it's because some of the judging decisions haven't gone their way. They feel it should have done.
Yeah, exactly that.
Well, I guess.
But if you're happy with how you rode, you need to be happy. Like
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it takes somebody with quite a leveled temperament like yourself to have that, though. These people who perhaps were always on to the next thing, I want to do this, I want to do better. They won't settle for the level-headed outcome that they need to have, perhaps. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a lot of what it is, Isaac, if I'm honest with you. But so we've jumped quite ahead to like simple session. So let's just rein it back in a touch and go back a touch. What were the first competitions you went to, or did you? Or...
Oh, it was Rom Jam. It was sort of like local jams like that. Trying to think. At the time, it was a big thing. There was jams all around the UK, weren't there?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember travelling up to a couple up here. Leeds. I went to a jam in Leeds.
Was that what?
The Works.
At the Works. Yeah.
I can't quite remember, but there was jams all over, and it was like.
Were you driving at this point, or were you getting lifts with people?
No. My mum's boyfriend took me up to Leeds to ride that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Sounds like he was definitely trying to impress.
Oh yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Yeah. And then Rom Jam was a huge one every year.
Yeah.
There was another little indoor park that had a jam every year. I feel like my first actual trip abroad was the Masters in Cologne.
Yeah,
right. And I want to say in 2005 or.
And you went there.
No, 2006, I think it was. Yeah.
You went there to ride.
Yeah, I rode the contest, amateur contest, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you'd still been quite young then.
Yeah. I think we were like 16. That's where I met the guy I mentioned, Bruiser. There was so many riders, all the similar age from all over England. It was a good one.
Yeah, I remember the Masters in Cologne.
Yeah, they always had amazing contests there, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the dirt jumps under the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember Jason again. He did like a tail whip off like a bridge.
No, that was Feast. That was in Montpellier.
Oh, was that in Montpellier?
Yeah, it was the mountain bike course that.
Oh right, I've got him mixed up.
Yeah, and he
still a shout out because that was sick.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, Jason's done some crazy stuff, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But it was the like slope style course, and it started on off the bridge, which was huge. Maybe like 15-foot drop into probably like a 20-foot rolling, and all the mountain bikers were like just like timidly rolling off the edge, and then after the contest, it was nothing to do with the contest, so Jason got up and tail whipped off it. Wild. I don't think he even jumped down it.
He just did straight over.
Yeah, I'm sure. I remember watching it being like, Jesus Christ.
Some riders I've known in the past that have often said it's like, if I'm doing this,
you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I don't want to. Talk myself out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's either going to work or it isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And to have that mentality.
I've had to put that mentality to a few things I've filmed. Like, you got to get it done. You got to push out like any questions and just get it done.
So after, obviously travelling to Cologne, did you go alone to that? Or?
No, just with a couple of mates from Rom.
Right. Yeah. So So was it your mum just said, "Okay, you can go to Germany"?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
My mum even get me to get the bus till I was 13, so I doubt she was very keen.
Yeah. No, I think
I'm going to Germany, Ma. See you later.
Yeah. I remember we just stayed in a hostel and good times.
Like that's what I was literally about to say. What I find, and I try and tell people, especially younger riders who are coming through or riding really impressively, is don't worry about getting that hookup from whoever.
No.
Don't worry about getting that sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
Travel.
Just enjoy it.
Take your bike.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
With your pals.
Yeah.
And that is where.
Oh, definitely.
That is where the fun is to be had, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. And
and the memories you make, like the stories.
It's easy for somebody of our age group perhaps to say that. But I
actually think that first trip abroad, I rolled my ankle and I had to be on a pair of crutches. Must have rolled it quite bad because I couldn't walk on it. And we all got hammered. We're all walking through the town and someone, I can't quite remember what happened, but someone threw something over a fence, and all of a sudden the police were chasing us. There's me with on my crutches. I just tried to run away, crashed into the floor. Police were on me. Yeah, and they have guns over there as well. So I'm 16, right? And they're like, they zip tied me to a lamppost. Yeah, they've got their gun out. They're like shouting in German at me, and I got put in a cell for the night. And got let out the next morning. Like, what is happening? That was my first trip abroad.
That's really shady as well, isn't it? Because like all your mates just skedaddled because they're in fine form.
No, I give it to the guy. His name's Chris Nunn, and he actually come back and went, and me and him was in the cell.
Oh, right. Respect to Chris. Shout out to Chris, because that's
big time.
You can't leave the guy on crutches behind.
And it was, I was I think I was like the young guy of the trip, and because he's a few years older than me, so he must have been 18, 19. Yeah.
See, that's it, like...
those stories that,
Did you come home and tell your mum that? Or...
No. I've told her now, but I didn't tell her at the time. I was like, yeah, Mum, it was really good. We watched some riding.
Yeah. Spend the night in a...
Yeah.
But see, and that's, again, that all comes back down to it,
It's,
that those things are the bits that make the difference, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. Those memories, like stories you can't write. Amazing times.
So... along from your travels into Germany, after that sort of time, well, was it long before, you picked up another sponsor or what?
So I feel like I went to Germany, come back, started hanging out with Hitchcock's, then got sponsored by Mankind. So it must have been the following year I went to... Simple Session, but there was also a shop called Rad BMX Shop.
Yeah, I remember Rad.
Now. Yeah. But they were sort of local shop, and they weren't too local, but I was really friendly with the guy. He came to Rom quite a bit, and I rode for them. That was like my first shop sponsor.
Cool.
It was, it was rad. They used to have jams in the car park, and they set up a jump box and a quarter pipe. It was like...
Yeah, and I also remember, I'm trying to think back now, because there was a ride... series they did called Catch Up, and me, Al from Alpha, Scott from Crucial, I think Cleggy Rowlands was in one because he had a shop at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the guys from Rad were in it.
Yeah.
And they just did like a thing where they travelled around. And so Rad was that's like the first time that I'd come across them. Yeah. But they were, seemed like quality cool guys, and it seemed like, a good vibe. And like you say, the jams and whatever in the car park. So,
wasn't it a great time to have all those shops that sort of held the scene? They held the scene together, I think. Yeah. Like, obviously, you know better than anyone because you run Foundation.
The thing is, around that time, it was, the shops, you could run a shop and you could run it as a shop and it was profitable to do so.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, without getting too cynical and too deep into it, the internet changed everything.
Changed the whole world, didn't it?
Yeah. And not only did the internet change everything, but how things were organised changed. Because after, shops that moved with the times got websites, so you could still be a shop and have a website. But after that, as time went by, it became a race to the bottom in one sense, and that's such a shame because a lot of shops have gone.
I know, and it's hard, isn't it?
It's really hard, and the ones that are still going, tend to have pretty good niches now.
Yeah,
and that's the way I think to try and stay in business. But there was a great shop scene at that time. And, it's good to hear that you had an involvement with the shop because I think it is a good thing.
I always have. So, Rad BMX shop shut down. Obviously, then wasn't riding for them, but a couple of years later, I started riding for Dead Sailor. So I've always
shout out to Pete.
Yeah, mate, absolute legend. I've always sort of had a involvement in a shop. It's it's good. It's quite important. Those early days of like traveling to Vault, they'd have a BMX DVD on. They're all there like hanging out, and you'd be looking at all the new parts. That was like a good part of my BMX upbringing, I guess. So,
and it's so good that you had that because, like I say, if you fast forward to today, kids can't get that.
No.
They can. Don't get me wrong. There's still shops around, but it's so far. If you live in like a no man's land area, I'm not going to say where that is through fear of offending somebody, but if it's 100 miles to your nearest shop,
you ain't making that, are you?
You're not going to do it. But it's quite an experience when you're young, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I can remember just like holding a hub and like clicking it round and being like, wow, and like looking at, even though I could never afford it, I used to be like hyped. I'd save up my paper money, get some grips, but you just go in there. It was like we'd make the trip out there on the train to get there, and it was like, it's definitely like kids can't do that now. It's
So when in time did you move back to Brighton then from Essex?
Oh, that was way later on.
Is it?
Yeah. I was 26 when I moved back to Brighton.
And so you were in Essex for all that time before?
Yeah. Lived in Essex from when I was, I want to say 8 till when I was 26.
Right.
So just riding ROM. So from when I got sponsored, I was sort of like, it's a questionable thing being a pro BMXer. I wasn't pro because I wasn't making much money, but it was my main source of income, But I lived at home, didn't drive, it was, I can't explain it, but it's like, it was an amazing time. I was so focused on riding. I didn't want to go to...
Yeah, because you've no distractions.
Yeah.
You're not working, so, you're not having to pay rent, you're not having to pay bills.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I could live, if I could do like a couple of shows a month, possibly win some money at a contest, I could get by on that, And because I was like, I'd made my life that I didn't have any outgoings.
Yeah.
Which like maybe wasn't like the best sensible thing. You should probably be looking forward thinking, what am I going to do? And I'm like mid-30s, but...
Didn't teach you any money management skills, however.
Well, no, I'd actually argue that because I learned how to live with like...
On a budget.
On a budget, and I wouldn't be bothered about having like expensive clothes or, because I wouldn't know when my next money coming in. And it was like, I think I actually learnt some like skills.
Money management skills.
Yeah, I think I did.
Do you know what? Yeah, I can see that. There's an argument for that, definitely.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you can learn to get by on what's coming in. You mentioned shows, so were you doing like demos and stuff like that?
Yeah. It was just sort of like, there was Team Extreme. There was I actually did loads of shows for a company in Belfast, and I used to go over there for a few weeks at a time. And they were like really good times as well. At the time, there was a amazing indoor skate park. There's still a couple of good ones over there, but I remember they had such good jump box section.
Yeah.
And we used to stay in a back room in the warehouse for like, I'd be over there maybe 6 weeks or a month doing shows, and I used to do some coaching in the park and get paid for that. That was like a great experience. And then there was another company that did, they would do sort of like coaching at council parks. Yep. I'd basically just go there and ride with all the kids. So that was like how I'd like sort of get by for those sort of few years.
What sort of period of time were you talking then there? Is it like, and how old were you roughly when this was the case?
Must have been from when I was like 19 to when I was like 23, 24.
See, and I know for a lot of people that would be like the dream in one sense, and you could argue why you're describing training kids at a council park being the dream, but essentially what you're saying is my job was riding, and that not only brought in some money,
but the thing is, it's like it kind of was my job, but if you looked at the amount of money that I was making, and what like I was doing, it shouldn't be anyone's dream looking at that money,
Well, yeah, but in a monetary value.
And that's it. And it was the most amazing times. Yeah, and I would never change that for the world.
Yeah, like, actually, you got to ride every day.
Yeah.
You got to earn money whilst doing it.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Not a lot of money, but do you know what? I think most young BMXers told they could actually survive like that. I'd probably give a limb, to be honest. But
then if they knew, like, you might not be able to afford, like, your nice clothes, I didn't drive at the time when all my mates drove. It was like there was definitely sacrifices, which I didn't even see them as sacrifices at the time. It was just what I needed to do to live like that sort of lifestyle. But, I don't think every kid, I would not really recommend it like to every kid. I'd probably say
it'd be the Jordan 1s that broke it if they couldn't have the Jordan 1s.
Yeah. That's it, mate. Yeah.
But actually, like I say, it is effectively you travelled, you went and rode your bike every day, and you got paid here, there, and everywhere. And as much as what you're saying is you weren't earning a load of money.
Yeah.
It's about experience again, surely.
Oh, 100%. And those years, I feel like I definitely learned some skills of like, just being able to travel, being able to live a bit rough, being able to go without things that I was, and now I definitely feel like I do benefit from that.
Oh, 100%.
Like I've just now recently, I've been going a year now, started up my own business doing tree surgery. And the fact that I can actually now, I live off about, after I've paid my bills, I give myself about 200 quid a month because I'm putting all the money back in. But I feel like that, definitely, I've learnt that from the time when I was like riding and
like you're able to do that because you've actually
been doing that
for a long time anyway, or
definitely
you can survive on less money.
I know
you've done that.
Exactly that.
And it's a great way to get your business into a good position, isn't it?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly
like you say,
that.
you can reinvest the money and
that's it, putting it back in.
You'll get the fruits from your labour later on
one day.
Well, that's it. So and what were you after this period where you weren't working per se, but you were riding? Was there any time after that where you did have to get a job, or when you?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you this story actually. When I was talking about staying in Belfast, the skate park had a phone call from, it must have been some like music production manager or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, Rihanna's in Belfast filming a music video. There's a possibility we might want to come to your skate park. You need to have people there in the background ready, like if we come." So, and I was there at the time doing shows, but it was just like a down day. So we were like chilling at the park anyway. They were like, oh, we need to get the park tidy. Everything's got to be tidy. So Rihanna like turns up with these huge, like a whole train
entourage
of these huge coaches. And she's like walking around the park. And it's like a pretty dingy warehouse. It was a mad situation. And I've got this sort of theory, yeah. Whereas if you look at a girl and you give them a smile, yeah, they're going to have some sort of reaction, right? Whether they look really uncomfortable and turn away, or they give you a smile back, or they give you a dirty look, there's going to be some sort of reaction, right? So I thought, I've got to give Rihanna a little smile. So I've like, give her a little nod and a smile. Mate, I felt like a window. She just stared straight through me. I didn't know where to look. I was like, oh, fucking hell, what's going on here? Yeah, it was funny.
So the theory fell apart on that particular occasion.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, mate.
But imagine that. That's like
It was crazy. It's in one of our music videos, that skate park.
Is it?
Yeah.
I take it because you give her the wink, you didn't feature.
I'm in it. You wouldn't know it's me. I'm riding in the background.
You are riding in the background?
Yeah.
I thought they might have cut you for the wink.
No.
You're trying to hit. It was funny. Trying to hit on the artist.
Yeah. But didn't work. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Mm.
So, yeah, basically going back to like that period of time where you were, you know, just basically getting by riding and whatever. Did reality catch up with you at any point?
Yeah, it definitely did. I remember I broke my ankle.
Right.
So I wasn't riding.
Of course, injury. Yeah.
And my mum was like asking for rent, which was like, at the time I was like, fuck's sake. But looking back,
come on, mum, cut me some slack.
Yeah. Looking back, it was like a good thing, because she was probably trying to get me to like go out and do something. Up. Yeah. So I remember I was like, had a big row with my mum, had a broken ankle. I was like, oh, this sucks, and had to go down to like a work agency, and I'd just work in warehouses at the time. So until I ended up working there was a company called Fearless Ramps.
Yep.
So I worked for them building skate parks, just sort of labouring basically, but it was a good time, you know. We were travelling all over.
And it's something you've got an interest in, isn't it? You
know
what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly that. But I was still like, you know, I was still doing shows, contests, everything like that. It was I'd just work when I needed to.
Yeah, so you were still concentrating on your riding.
Yeah. And
what sort of, because you said you sort of were doing that probably 19 till about 23. So this is when you were sort of mid-20s?
Yeah, definitely. Done that for like a couple of years. And about that time, my mum sold a house. So I was having to find a place to live. And I met my girlfriend who I'm with now in Brighton. And so mid-20, I moved to Brighton when I was 26.
Yep.
Moved back. And it was, great decision, amazing decision.
Back to where it all started?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It's funny because I've got memories of when I was really young, like there was a wooden skate park at the level. I've got memories of like...
I love that skate park.
Yeah, amazing, wasn't it? That there was like a flat bank hip. But it must have been different because I feel like there was 2 back-to-back mini ramps.
Yeah.
This was years ago, because I was like really young, and I would be at the park with my mum, but I'd be watching the...
so you're talking about like way back.
Yeah.
And you remember it being
Must
there
be
then.
like, maybe 25 years ago. It was there, and I'd be watching the people skate or ride, and it's just ironic that then when I was about 20 years later, that became my local. You know, and it was like a big part. I rode it every day when I moved to Brighton, moved back down there.
So at that time when you moved back to Brighton, you were still riding for Mankind?
Yeah.
Were you riding for Dead Sailor at that point?
Yeah.
Shadow
came shortly after I first moved to Brighton, because obviously 70s are based just along the coast.
St Leonard's?
Yeah. John actually, just sitting over there, hooked it all up, helped me out. Like,
of course he did.
Yeah.
The main man, JT.
Yeah.
Knows how to organise these things.
Yeah. On the case.
But
yeah. It was. It was.
Shadow's sick. Well, it's ironic actually, isn't it, that the last man to sit in that chair was Owen and he was a Shadow rider as well.
Yeah.
But it's always been like one of those consistent brands, I think, that's done,
they do things well, don't they?
And they're not scared about investing to make it something special.
Yeah, I know.
I think a lot of people don't realise that when you want to design a chain that's better than any other chain, I'm not going to get into the argument about whether it is or not, but the investment you have to put in to make your own chain is just phenomenal money. And it's the same, like, people don't realise, like, grips and tyres, they're just so expensive to manufacture. Because to get moulds done and all the rest of it costs thousands and thousands. But Shadow have been always a brand, I think, that have always, like...
pushed it.
Yeah. Not shied away from making that investment. Basically saying, we're not just going to do something out of this catalogue that we can get made tomorrow. We're going to make our own. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's why, for me, they've always been
I'm, like, so stoked to ride for them. Honestly, such a cool brand. Like, me and Ollie Shields got put on at the same time, and it was like, I'm good mates with Ollie, so...
That's even better.
Yeah.
Makes it nice to have somebody at the same time who you're friends with. Like.
Yeah. And the products are good, they've got cool clothing. It's it's a decent brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ronnie B, shout out to Ronnie, came to Foundation BMX.
He's the man, isn't he?
Yeah, he called in.
He's mad, but he's like...
With Stu and Colin on a bit of a tour they were doing around the UK at one point, and Ronnie's just super cool guy. He was talking to me about all sorts of bits and pieces, and he was just dead down to earth.
Yeah, he took us when I was in Florida. He was like, "Come over, man! Like, come to my house." He has his garden goes down to a lake, and he's got just a jet ski, and we were like razzing around this lake on the jet ski. It was amazing.
Really?
It was good. And he took us kayaking in Florida, mate. We was like, from me to the light was like the biggest alligator. And Ronnie's just chilling. Ronnie's like, oh yeah, look, there's another one over there. Oh look, this one here. I'm like,
you're swimming for your life,
mate. Yeah. I'll have to show you a photo after. It's pretty crazy,
mate. That is pretty crazy. I don't know how I'd have felt about that.
Yeah, it was good times though. Yeah.
So shout out to Ronnie, shout out to Shadow, and that came around probably not long after you'd been back in Brighton.
Moved to Brighton, yeah.
Was the level the new level?
Yeah, it was when I moved back.
When you moved back?
Yeah.
Right.
But I was always sort of like, I always loved Brighton. I'd always sort of go down. It was always great. All the boys would end up go out drinking there. Yep. So I'd always be down riding and partying, and like, when my mum said, oh, you're going to need to find somewhere to live because I'm selling a house, it was just kind of like, well, if I'm going to move anywhere, I'm going to move to Brighton.
Yeah.
And then started going there a bit more, met my girlfriend. It just sort of all fell into place.
Do you know, I mean, Brighton is one of them sick places. Like, we went last year, the wife and I got a job offer to deliver some stuff to Brighton.
Yeah.
And it's through a friend of mine, and he offered me a crazy amount of money because it had to be there on this day at this time. Yeah. And he was like, someone's let me down, will you take it? And I said, yeah, all right, I'll take it. So literally at the time, my daughter was 1. Yeah, and my wife and I went down in the van, and stayed in a travel lodge down the road from Brighton, and just spent a couple of days in Brighton. And,
it's a mad place, isn't it?
It's just a really
got
good
a vibe
place
to it. Yeah.
Interestingly, though, I mean, for me, that you can see that the money investment's in Hove, because the further you go down the road.
John's all of look at him giggling in the corner. Mr. Hove himself.
Brighton was looking a bit tired on the front line, but Hove wasn't. That was looking real tidy. But it is a good place, and like you say, if you're that age, you're riding.
Yeah, it was.
You've got mates, and you're going out having a drink and whatever. It's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a no-brainer choice, is what
you're
trying to say.
Yeah. I first got a flat with my girlfriend. It was about the size of this room. Whole flat, kitchen in the corner. There was a little tiny toilet and shower.
About $2,000 a month.
And our bed. No, it was actually cheap. Like, it was further out. It wasn't in central Brighton, but we lived there for a year and a half, and it was like, tested us. Living in this little space, but it was good because we managed to save up a bit of money there.
Do you know, it's funny though, because actually, like, I can relate to that. My wife and I, when we first got together, her dad, she was living with her dad, and her dad was moving down to Tamworth in Birmingham, and she didn't want to move down.
Yeah.
So obviously I was like, well, just come live with me. Like, it's fine. She probably wasn't at that stage, or we probably weren't at that stage in our relationship at that time, but it was just like, well, come live with me. And she came to live with me. And if I'm honest with you, if we hadn't have done that at that point, because you've got to find out if you can live with someone.
No, that's it.
It's not, people think it's straightforward. It is a test. Yeah. So you need to get that in.
Yeah, definitely.
To make sure that there's a bit of longevity in this, because it's
absolutely.
not a walk in the park.
No.
You know, and especially if you're in a room this big.
In a tiny room. Yeah, I remember she used to get annoyed because my BMX would be at the bottom of the bed, and she'd kick the handlebars in the middle of the night, and I was, funny. It's good times.
BMX problems.
Yeah.
So obviously you've moved back to Brighton.
Yeah.
You're still riding. Were you still just doing a bit of ad hoc work here and there at that point, or did you get a more permanent job?
No,
at that point?
yeah. So what happened was that my nan lived in Brighton. My family's from Brighton, so my nan lived there. She was like she wasn't doing too well. She needed a bit of hand, and I was going away building these skate parks for weeks at a time. I needed a job in Brighton. There's a guy called Max Wood that rode for Proper.
Yes,
he was
Max,
amazing rider.
Really good rider.
Yeah. But I knew he did tree work, and I knew he lived around Brighton. So I hit him up because I was friends with him before, like from just going out partying and stuff. I was. So I hit him up, said, like, mate, have you got a couple of weeks' work? I just need to like be a bit more local. And he was like, no, I can't really give you a couple of weeks, but if you want to come work for me, I can sort of put you through some qualifications and it was just a no-brainer from there. It was like, and looking back, that was like such a positive thing that I did to sort of like accept that maybe I need to do something that's not BMX and like.
Well, yeah, because I guess there comes that stage.
Yeah.
In any rider's career where. Yeah. You know, life catches up with you. Doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't like that was it. You know, I still had like a good few years of like going on trips, riding contests, doing bits.
Absolutely, but what you're doing is
But I was working full time from then on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that kind of was the acceptance point of, right, I'm going to get a full-time job. And
exactly, yeah.
I'm going to do this. And did you work with Max then? Did you keep doing the skate park gym?
No.
Just work with Max?
Yeah, started working for Max. It was all on the railway, long hours. It was like a bit of a shock to the system at first.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, I remember watching the guys climbing. So, you know, you have guys that work on the ground who will drag the branches, but then you have the guy in the trees cutting it down. I was just there to drag some branches, but I remember looking up at them and I was thinking, if I put like a quarter of what I put into BMX, I could do that. So I just sort of like, started putting my mind to learning to climb and like,
I think
it's good.
It is something that you can develop though, isn't it? If you've got that
absolutely.
mindset of
you
know, especially if you can do it on a bike, then you say you can. I can put my mind to something else.
Yeah. I've spoke about this before that like BMXers can come from BMX and you see them excel in like, especially if they're like something creative like art, or one of my friends is doing some crazy metal work. But if you've got that mindset to get good at riding, you can put that to like
something else.
And you see it all the time. Guys really excel after they're finished riding.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Like,
oh God, all the time. And you know, it's interesting because when you're working within the constraints of BMX, which, you know, a lot of us have done, you know, and it's kind of a narrow market, narrow salary opportunity, all those things which you accept because you want to be a part of something.
That's a massive thing. Is like you're not doing something necessarily for like financial gain isn't the main reason you ride BMX. So if you can maybe accept starting at the bottom on a, you know, there's a bigger picture than how much money you're earning, and I think you learn that from BMX.
Oh yeah, but you're getting to do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
You're getting to travel with your friends and all these things which make a huge difference to your life.
Yeah.
And they're the things that, like I say,
that's what matters, isn't it?
You can take that away from it, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a favourite trip? I know we've touched on Germany when you were 16 and Simple
Favourite
Session.
trip?
Is there a trip you went on that is probably the most memorable for you?
Yeah, one that stands out. Me and Jason, we got a train through Eastern Europe. From like we flew to Poland and we got the train down to like maybe Croatia, all through these mad little countries. I think we did it over 3 weeks. It was insane. It was like, yeah, it was
just
cool.
Staying in hostels or
sleeping in hostels, getting the night train or riding like some crazy skate parks, like, and the street spots over there are amazing as well. Like, it was a good trip.
That's got to be
You can imagine traveling with Jason for 3 weeks.
Oh,
mate.
God.
Wild times. But like, yeah, it was crazy.
There's got to be.
I used to before I actually started working, I'd always be staying up at Unit as well.
Yeah.
I'd always be riding up there, and
they're the best weekends, Unit. Aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah. I'd go there for like a couple of weeks at a time. Sometimes it was like,
really,
mate. Yeah, this was in like the few years that I wasn't working. It was good.
I don't know if I could hack 2 weeks at Unit because I'd probably come back pretty ill.
Yeah. I think I did. I was. Yeah, if I went now, mate, I can. But at the time, in your early 20s, you can.
Oh yeah.
Your body handles it.
Yeah.
Not now. No.
Yeah, it is about a shock to the system these days.
Yeah.
That's the Eastern European trip. I can only imagine that like some of the spots that you were visiting.
Oh, amazing.
Have got to be really unique.
Yeah. Sort of like that. There's so many transition spots, like street transition spots.
Yeah, like the architecture.
I love riding stuff like that,
Yeah.
Sort of like taking the skate park tricks to like a really tight street quarter. I could ride that for a while,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When it's a sort of challenge to do your normal tricks on something, I like it. Yeah.
One of the things, and this was obviously only last year, one of the things about your riding, Isaac, which I think stands out, is we were at the Backyard Jam at D-Side last year.
Yeah.
Me and Chris were there, and I remember you showing up, and you were late.
Yeah.
And I think you showed up literally 10 minutes before your run.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you've ridden that skate park before.
Yeah. No, I was there before. I was there. I think I was just chilling in the van.
So you were there early, but you didn't come in until 10 minutes before you run.
Yeah.
Well, all right, because the point still stands. You turned up 10 minutes before your run, literally got your helmet on, got your pads on, and literally just dropped in for your first run. And it looked like you'd ridden that skate park 100 times before. You just looked like you were local. And I think
mate, I appreciate that.
That's
Thank you.
That's unreal ability in my eyes, because the one thing that I've seen loads over the years with kids who I thought, he's good, this kid's good. They're good at their park.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in it, local pros, yeah.
Take them to their skate park, or go to their skate park, should I say, and they smash it.
Yeah.
Move them to a different skate park.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And all of a sudden it's a completely different ballgame. Yeah. Whereas you turned up, albeit you may have rode the skate park the day before or whatever, but literally you didn't you didn't even warm up, you just dropped in and I
did ride the day before, yeah.
Yeah, but you just dropped in and just smashed out a run that...
But I like that aspect of going to a new park and figuring out, so you're like, right, if I drop in here, this lines up to this hip, and then if I carve this way, I can get over to this part, and like, I like that aspect of... and especially riding bowls, you're like, you want to...
because that is kind of like
it is,
like a bowl
setup,
isn't it?
It's good. Instead of just trying to do trick, you're thinking, right, I can link this to this, and then I can get over to here. It's even just going to ride... We rode the Boneyard yesterday, and it was like just trying to link everything up, and if I go from this one to this one, it's... I like that aspect of it.
The lines.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking for the lines.
Yeah.
But like I say, no, the point was testimony to you as a rider.
Oh, thank you, mate.
You just dropped in, and you look like you'd ridden that park every day for the last 10 years.
I appreciate that.
And
I enjoyed riding that contest.
And you absolutely smashed it.
Thank you.
Know what I mean? And I was just like, wow. And for a guy that was been probably lying in the back of the van half an hour before, cup of tea, and he's just turned up and taken care of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're here.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good contest. Yeah.
Did you go to many of the backyards last year?
No, that was the only one.
Was that the only one you made it to?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I love riding the actual contest, but I find there's a lot of waiting about at those, because they do fit. There's a lot to fit in that one day or one weekend.
And especially now, it's so much structured because of the British cycling. It's got to be structured.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like, I can see you. I'm obviously, if you only went to that one, but I could see you having a really good time at the Asylum one.
Yeah.
You've ridden that Asylum?
I've ridden Asylum, yeah, only once, I think. I'd like to go to that one. I'd like to make the trip up to Unit one as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to bother. When I was younger, I would have been, like, booked in to ride every one, but now I just want to, like, it's more sort of like I want to look at the parks that I want to ride.
Yeah.
And I think, right, yeah, I'd probably enjoy riding a contest at that park. I'll go to that one. So
I think that's, for me, like, just the ones that they did last year. I think the Asylum one's right up your street.
Oh, good.
The bowl, the setup there.
Yeah,
just looks like
decent.
You could do some damage in there. You could.
Yeah, I think I'll go. I'll try and get to that one.
Yeah, no, I've rode the setup. Me and Chris went across, and I must admit, for somebody of my riding ability, it was pretty daunting, to be honest, because it's bigger than it looks.
Go fast, didn't you?
And it's bigger than it looks. You know what I mean? When you get there, you think, "Ooh."
Yeah. To make it work, I think you've got to go fast at it.
So it definitely would be something that I think a rider of your ability could really put a dent in.
Nice one, cheers, mate.
So towards like you're moving back to Brighton times. Obviously, you mentioned you've started a business.
That's really recent though.
Is that something you've done really recently?
Yeah. Last April. So it's 1 year. I've been going 1 year now.
So, did you spend all that time prior to that with Max?
Yeah, working for Max.
And I guess that's where
I did work for a few other people, but I'd always end up coming back to Max, It's just like...
Is Max into motocross now? Is that in my mind? I've got in my head that he does motocross now.
Yeah, he does. And he's crazy with it. Like,
is he?
Trains in the gym, diet plan, all of this stuff just to get that one result. I've asked him, I'm like, are you ever going to just enjoy riding motocross? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He's got this competitive drive in him that, you see it in some riders as well.
Oh, God, yeah. There's those people in BMX, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's interesting how it's come across to freestyle. Obviously, racing's been that way for a long time. If you want to be on the main final in racing, you've had to have been that person for a long time.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because they're like top athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's only
that's Max, mate.
Yeah, it's only more recently come to freestyle. I think.
Yeah. With the Olympics, it's kind of brought that aspect in a lot more, isn't it?
Yeah, if you want to be on the podium, you're gonna have to train every day.
Yeah.
Eat well and
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I kind of think that's a more recent thing for freestyle. But yeah, so basically you've done that work and you've obviously still been riding that whole time as well.
Still riding the whole time, yeah.
Did you kind of feel like at that stage that, and you kind of touched on it just with saying about if I'm going to go to a competition, I'm happy to ride, but on my terms type thing?
Definitely, yeah.
Was there a time when that was a mental decision? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go and throw myself at this anymore. I'm more happier going and just sort of like...
I'll still throw myself at something, but if I'm going to do it, it's because I want to do it, not because I want to do well in the contest.
Right.
So talking about that contest at D-side last year, there was a wall ride I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was on the back wall. And I was like, I just wanted to do it because the setup was there, not because I wanted to do well in the contest. And that's sort of like how I want to approach contests. Like when I was younger, I would be quite focused on doing well, putting a run together. But now I just there's sometimes like there's one thing I really want to get done, and I like to like find that thing, get it done. And then if I come last, but I get that thing done, I'm buzzing,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's a time in a rider's career where they don't step back as such, but it's more just like you're phrasing it, that actually I'm happy to do this on my terms, so I'll ride the competition.
Exactly that.
But I'm not caring about where I'm finishing. I'm more just thinking about what I want to do and when I want to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Do you think that is a mental switch then, that you go from caring about where you finish to I'm just going to enjoy myself type thing?
It's more of just like a slow transition than like a switch, but just over the years, you know, you want to appreciate the moment, not be worried about the result.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that. Sometimes it's like when I sat and spoke to Owen here, and he just sort of decided that he was getting invited on trips and doing stuff and whatever, but he just decided that he was working more. He felt like perhaps he needed to take a step back in such a case. That I guess I'm trying to sort of figure out if you ever felt something similar, you know what I mean?
But again, Owen killed it at that contest last
year,
didn't he? Yeah. So like it's similar sort of thing.
Owen's like that though.
Yeah.
Did he show up yesterday?
No, I think he's down in Kent seeing some family maybe.
Oh, he's away.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
He's a guy. God, if you go, you know, we talked about it.
He's got
the
best attitude, I think, to riding.
100%.
Yeah.
And that came through with all the comments and the sort of things that came through in the video after we posted it. You know, everyone was stoked, but everyone loves Owen. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's like your
best guy, isn't
ambassador.
Yeah.
For UK BMX.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, just tell me about some of the other competitions you've been in, Isaac. So obviously we've talked about some of the ones, but you're well travelled in contest riding. So what other?
One big one, Battle of Hastings at Source.
Yeah.
So I rode that. I actually rode the first 5.
Really?
Yeah. The first one.
There probably isn't many men who can say that, isn't there?
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe one or two other guys. I'm not sure though. But I remember there was like, I just recently moved to Brighton. There was a jam or something at the Source, and it was a qualifier for the Battle of Hastings, but I didn't know what the Battle of Hastings was. There hadn't been an event yet. And I remember John was like, "Oh, we're going to a jam." I was like, "No, mate, the sun's out. I'm going to ride outside." And he was like, "No, you should come. And I ended up winning that qualifier. So I qualified to ride the first one. That was an amazing experience, you know. It's like so surreal being on the deck with like Chase, Gary Young, all these riders that you watch ride.
What, they were at the prelim?
No, this was like the main event.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So I qualified.
You qualified at a prelim, which was at Source.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because they had like a
qualification type.
Yeah, so
thing.
Different people could qualify.
Yeah. So then rode at
their main
actual event. Yeah.
With all these people, what you're saying?
Yeah, amazing. And then the second year, same thing. I won the thing again. Won the qualifier.
Oh,
again.
Right, yeah, the prelim,
Yeah. And then the third year is actually like another crazy story, right? So I didn't qualify to ride it. I didn't, I wasn't bothered, you know. I was like, I've rode it twice. I'm quite happy to now just go and relax and watch it. So I've met up with Declan Brooks, who's like Olympic guy. We'd gone for a session in the morning at the Concrete Bowl, and there's this guy and he's hammered. He's so drunk, right? And he's like said something to my girlfriend, and I've gone in the most polite way, mate, just chill out a little bit, please. And he's like in my face. And
this is at the concrete skate park in Hastings?
In Hastings, on the
Boiley Park?
Yeah. Before, like, I'm going to watch the contest. So he's like in my face. And it was, you know what it's like? There's loads of like younger riders who are come down and their parents are there. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be that guy who's like talks about all weekend of, oh, he was fighting at the skate park this morning. So I just sort of walked away. I was like annoyed, but I just thought, no, this is not worth it. And then, so I've gone to watch the contest, and I think the guy's name is Matt Cordova. but he had a crash, right? I think that was the guy. It was a crazy team. It was Jason Watts, Matt Cordova, Corey Walsh, and Boyd Hilda.
Oh, so just like the Fast and Loose boys.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like Matt Cordova. I think that is the guy, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's got long hair.
Yeah.
And does gnarly tables. So he's come up. So he's had a crash, and Jason come up to me. He's like, "Oh mate, could you ride?" And it was in like 20 minutes. So I rode with them. Obviously, like they all killed it. I just did my thing or whatever, and then qualified for the finals and ended up winning that whole event. It was like the most surreal weekend from going from this like ridiculous situation at Boyley Park, and then expecting to watch the just expecting to watch the contest, and then ended up winning the whole thing. You know, it was nuts. It was crazy.
That is a hell of a weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I remember it forever.
And good job you didn't fill him in, because you could have been in police custody for another.
Oh God, yeah, don't. yeah.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was
amazing how these things happen.
Yeah, amazing memory. And then from there, I was like team captain on the next year. So
this is year 4.
Yeah. So I got Deck. Like I've rode with Deck for years. He's like, I've watched him sort of come up to winning an Olympic medal. It's crazy. Yeah. So I got him, Ollie Shields, Matt Ray, who's rides for Shadow as well. It was it was amazing riding with them boys.
Well, I can imagine basically from that story that actually, you know, year 1 you entered a prelim, qualified to ride the comp.
Yeah.
Year 2, you win the prelim, you enter to qualify, ride the comp. Year 3, you're not intending on riding,
no,
but you end up riding.
Yeah.
And go on and do fantastic. Yeah. So by this point, they're probably thinking, do you know what? We should probably give Isaac.
Yeah. I think it was that sort of.
It's like this guy's actually smashed it for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity we've put him in.
Yeah.
So it's probably time he had his own thing.
Yeah, it was a good time riding those contests.
Yeah, I mean,
really good memories.
It is like the park, you know, being subterranean and all the rest of it. It obviously does have quite a close feel. You don't have to have that many people in there for it to feel like it's it's rocking. Like
I love the feeling of those contests. It sort of feels like the old contests of like one memory I have, which actually like I think really going right back to the beginning really like focused me on riding was when I lived in Essex. I'd just started getting into BMX, and the same guy, Chris Nunn, drove me down to Brighton to watch Backyard Jam. Do you remember it?
Was it the Brighton one?
Yeah. It must have been maybe 2004, and it had red ramps.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And, yeah, and watching that and that sort of vibe of the contest, and like I was just buzzing on riding after that.
I suppose,
but I feel like Battle of Hastings had the same sort of like hype around it of like.
I was literally
those early Backyard Jams.
I was literally about to say that like Backyard now isn't the same as it used to be because it's a new thing.
Yeah.
It's like
and British Cycling have come in, and it's amazing what they're doing, but it's not.
It's not what it used to be because it's a different kettle of fish altogether.
It is.
Whereas Battle of Hastings, in one sense, actually is what Backyard Jams used to be because you're getting all the international team riders coming across for it. And and makes it a spectacle. Do you know what I mean? For people who are lucky enough to get tickets to go and watch it, type thing.
Definitely, yeah.
So I can.
That was
I can see that,
amazing.
and I can see what the similarity you're drawing there.
Yeah.
I remember. It's in the back of my mind. There were hazy days. These were so NAS.
Yeah.
You rode NAS regular?
Yeah, I went to NAS every year religiously.
Really?
Yeah. Even like. When I was younger, I used to love partying, like, so it was great for that. But even when I slowed down on the partying, I still loved because they would always have good courses.
Yeah.
So I'd love like going and riding the course and like seeing everyone. Bald Masters was a good one. Riding Bald Masters. The bike show. Do you remember the bike show at Birmingham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of year would that have been? That's like a... I'm trying to think. Was it the more recent bike shows you rode at, or was it
yeah.
Because they used to have like
they
a thing
did
at
have
the bike
them.
shows years ago.
No,
and then it kind of stopped for a while.
Yeah, and then there was a few
back.
more. There was a few more, weren't there? Yeah, they were really good contests. I loved riding them. I feel like the UK had a good contest scene at that time.
Yeah,
you know, it was like NAS, Boardmasters, bike show, jams all around every weekend. It was like it was good.
And obviously, Boardmasters being in Cornwall's obviously,
yeah, always a week down in Cornwall with the boys.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good for you to spend some time with the guys, and obviously it's nice by the sea. It's got all that going for it, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So especially when you're younger, like you're saying, that you're involved in the party side of it as well as the you know, the riding side.
Yeah, for a few years I probably hit partying a bit too hard, but it was good times.
You managed to pull yourself out.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, you know,
I think everyone does though. Early 20s, it's like everyone goes through that sort of phase, don't they?
Do you know the interesting thing about that statement for me, Isaac, is a lot of people, including me, actually, do take a break from riding at that point for that reason. And it's, you know, life catches up. You can drive.
Yeah.
Next year you can drink. And so I did take there was probably 3 years that I rode, but not as much as I'd done previously, and not as much as I did after.
Yeah.
Which is just for that reason, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you got distractions.
Yeah, that's it.
And you got your mates want to go out or
But
whatever.
for me, partying was always like something after riding.
Linked to the ride.
Yeah. So it would be partying at a contest, or you'd go to Brighton and ride and then go out partying. It was like they always came together, sort of thing.
And so, I think that's probably that apt description of what it is probably works for a lot of the riding community.
Yeah.
And for me, it was more a case, I think, of it was my non-riding friends.
Yeah. That wanted to go out.
Yeah. And so that kind of pulled me away, if you like, in one sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, you know, like you say, most people go through it. So
yeah, definitely.
It's no surprise.
Definitely.
It's no surprise to hear that you went through exactly the same thing.
No.
So before we came on recording, somebody mentioned Mary Poppins.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. It was
go on, shed some light on that one for me.
It was Mike King. I think he originally got the call saying like, oh, they're doing they want to have some like BMX riders riding old-fashioned bikes involved in this like dance scene. Sounds ridiculous. But then I went to an audition for it, never heard anything back. And then one day got like a call saying, oh, can you come back up? We want to just see you again. Ended up being like on set for like 6 months filming Mary Poppins. It sounds crazy, but like if you search it on YouTube, it will make a bit more sense, Mary Poppins BMX. But it was like there's these dancers, the amount of money that went into this one scene that we were involved in. Like imagine I actually made some like quite good money from that. And there was like 20 BMX riders. There was like 50 dancers. There was like the set, the catering, like a never-ending list of things. I'd hate to say how much it would have cost. This is the sort of money they were putting into it, right? There's a road, I think it's called the Mall in London that goes up to Buckingham Palace. Yeah. They shut that down for 3 days to film there. Do you know, that's the sort of money that they're putting in.
Well, yeah, you're throwing your weight around a bit there, right?
Yeah. It was actually like I think Baz Keep actually helped me get onto that job, and Mike King. It was the opportunity. It was such an opportunity because I managed to save up like a lump of money from that, and obviously I've never really earned like great money before that. So I was like, I need to put this to something. Like, if I went and spent all this, I would never live with myself, because I'd look back when I'm like 40 and be like, oh, I had a lump of money once. So me and my girlfriend put it towards a flat, which was like big move, you know.
So a deposit to buy one?
Yeah, deposit to buy a flat from that job. From that job, yeah.
So we are talking serious money.
Yeah. I mean, I did save for like a year after doing the Mary Poppins job to be able to afford it, but I would never have seen that as a possibility without doing that Mary Poppins job. It was, amazing.
The thing
situation.
is, what people find out when you move outside of your BMX bubble, shall we say, is that there's loads of money out there in certain industries where they're not bothered.
Yeah.
Basically, the cost is
I think
just a spiraling thing, and they'll worry about it later.
Yeah. The BMX must have been a tiny percent of their budget for that film, that set. But like for me, it was like,
oh god, yeah,
a big thing in my life. Doing that job and being able to put a deposit down was like, serious.
It's like economies of scale, I say sometimes. Like I've got friends who work in certain industries, and one of them, he's a quantity surveyor, and he's worked on big jobs in the past, power plants, gas works, this type of thing. And these jobs are in the millions.
Yeah.
And when you're working in that,
if you
say that, for my time on this job, I want 200 grand, they just laugh and go, yeah, fine, whatever. Because they're dealing in millions.
Yeah.
6 figures to them doesn't mean anything.
No, it's wild, isn't it?
And so it's kind of just like in different industries where economies of scale, and the film industry or TV industry, it's going to be exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
that's it.
We've got loads of money to deal with this, so
yeah.
This is not a thing.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was wild.
But it's good to hear that you managed to get your bit of that thing. That's the main thing.
And
did you say there was other guys as well then?
Yeah.
Baz,
Ollie. It was crazy. I was sharing a room with Ollie Shields and Deck, and I feel like they're both competitive, and they were just competing against who could drink more beers in the evening, who could do the most press ups, who can wrestle each other out the bed. Oh, it was madness. It was a good time. So after doing Poppins with them, that's why I picked them two to ride Battle of Hastings with me, because it's just hilarious being with them. They're from opposite ends of like Ollie's like quite fashionable street rider and Deck's like park guy, but they were like bang on together. It was funny.
But that's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
it shows that there is no separation.
Yeah, definitely.
You might wear a gum shield and you might wear baggy trousers.
Yeah. It's all the same at the end of the day, isn't we? Yeah.
And that is good to hear that, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when we were talking earlier about like the differences in different categories of BMX all competing at the same competition type thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So basically, like you said, last April you started your own business.
Yeah.
This is like the next step, I guess, in the
I
Isaac story.
Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of be on my own terms of like when I work, when I finish. And if I want to do like a 16-hour day to get a job finished, maybe not 16 hours. I've done like 14-hour days though.
Yeah, you just said you're falling asleep at 9:30, mate.
Yeah. No, but I've done some long days. You know, I've had a 2-day job planned, and I'm like, right, boys, if we get this done today, we can all have tomorrow off paid. Stuff like that. I want to be able to say that, whereas not be on, or if I like coming up here, I just didn't book any working on the Fridays. That's the sort of control I want to be able to have.
Yeah, flexibility.
Yeah, exactly that. So, I just sort of like thought I need to do it. If I'm going to do it, I need to like make the move and get it done. So and it's the same mindset of riding. I just put like everything into it, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like,
and unlike BMX, unlike BMX, you probably get more out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's been an amazing year.
For the love.
Yeah. It's been a big year, massive learning curve. Amazing.
And what would you say? How have you found riding with that? Then have you found there's been no impact, or is that because you've been working full time anyway?
There's definitely impact, but I enjoy riding as much, if not more, than ever. Like, you know, and it's not so much. I appreciate now just going to the park, doing some manuals, seeing the boys like relaxing from work, whereas I can definitely see. There's one thing I've actually done recently is I've stopped riding for Mankind after 15 years.
Really?
So, yeah.
Is that? And that was, I wasn't aware of that. Is that like first-hand, like brand new information?
Yeah. Literally
first-hand?
This week. Yeah.
Foundation podcast exclusive.
Yeah. I guess you could say that, but yeah, like it's not for me, it's not. I'm not like. It's not because I want to find another sponsor or anything like that. It was just because, I've had a signature frame. I've been riding them for so many years, and I just don't. I don't want to be looked at that I'm holding on to something that I'm now chilling out with. Like, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I 100%.
Yeah. I just want to. I want to like be able. I still would love to like go out filming clips. I'm still gonna maybe ride a contest every now and again, but I don't want to be feeling like I should do those things.
And with those sponsorship deals comes that responsibility.
There is that responsibility, and like people will say, no, you do what you want, you just do you. But I do think that you have a responsibility to your sponsor.
Yeah, they're saying that and they're doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you feel like for every T-shirt they give you, for every sprocket they send you, or whatever. They're giving you that, and in return,
exactly,
you provide something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, as much as they'll go, oh, it's not like that. Don't worry about it. You feel like that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I definitely do. Like when I was younger, I'd be quite strict with myself to be like, I need to get some edits out, and I need to make sure I go to these contests and like try and get some photos in magazines. I'd be like strict on myself, and I've slowed down as I've got older with that kind of putting that pressure on myself. But I don't want to be looked at that I'm holding on to being a pro rider when I'm not like doing those things.
Yeah,
So it was just kind of like
terms.
Yeah, I'd been thinking about it for a while, like just sort of like stepping back, and called up Christoph this week and had actually a really good chat with him. Like just told him how I feel. He completely understood, and I said, look, it's not like I'm trying to move on. I'm just like, well, no, I am moving on, but not trying to move on to another sponsor. I'm just sort of like, I'm not at that point in my life anymore where I'm pushing it. So it was like, I was a bit worried, like, but it was fine.
Apprehensive about the conversation you were in.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. But he was so understanding, like he fully got it.
Do you know, Isaac, I touched on something earlier about that, though. There's very few people who maintain a sponsorship for that length of time.
Yeah.
Because some people jump onto the next thing or want to go on to the next brand. And sometimes that's not your decision. I get, like, in certain instances, there's deals that go on where, if you're with a distributor, but they lose that brand, but they want to retain you as a rider, so they'll put you onto a different...
of course.
That's different. But to stick with the same brand all that time... is a testimony. It really is to you as a person, because I'm sure there's been
I appreciate
various offers over the years, perhaps, that have come along and you've thought, oh, should I do this or should I just stick with what I know? And it's not always clear cut. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. But I just think like I just thought stay with it. It means a lot that if I ride for the same company, And Christoph was always great with helping me out with like. If I needed to get a flight to a contest, he would always come up with like helping me out to get there. Always great sending me parts. So that for me, there wasn't like a huge reason to like jump shit. There never was, never really like, yeah.
Can I come at this from a different angle? And it's I don't want you to take this the wrong way.
Go on.
One of my things that I've always struggled with Mankind is in the early days when James was doing it.
Yeah.
There was a supply chain.
Yeah.
And, James was proactive.
Yeah.
He had catalogues. He'd be in touch with dealers.
Yeah.
So we had a few bits off him.
Yeah.
One of our lads, Max, he rode a Mankind frame for 3-4 years. Brilliant. Frame never let him down.
Yeah.
Like good frame. But then there was a period of time after James
where... they didn't have a distro.
They had no distro.
Yeah.
And then that became really difficult then, because obviously then as a shop you've not got a supply chain, so you don't you sort of say goodbye to it and look at whatever things you do have access to.
Yeah, definitely.
Did that ever made it difficult for you as a rider sometimes, because it's not like a kid could come up to you and say, oh, what's this frame, where can I get one?
Yeah, there was times like that, but for me I think I've always sort of tried to stay out of like that side of BMX, I've just never it did suck when Hitchcock's like stopped supplying Mankind, and it just sort of it went into sort of like a lull. But for me, I just carried on.
You never looked at it like, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I just carried on doing what I was doing.
You were just doing what you were doing, and it wasn't really a thing for you. Obviously.
Yeah.
As like I say, it's one of those things where, like, there's so many instances where, you know, a supply chain becomes difficult on a brand, and then, you know, that brand might have done really well for you. One that I can think of actually in the UK, which I don't know whether it'd be relevant, but Fly's one.
Yeah.
So up until like 2019, it was, you know, every dealer could buy Fly stuff, and then we haven't been able to buy it since. And there's been a few under-the-counter deals done between Fly directly to various people, obviously including the source, which, you know, I can understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's like it's a shame because there's people.
Oh, it's a massive shame.
There's people who shout at me sometimes, you know, and hit me up and say, "Oh, can you get me a Ruben Rampira tire?" And I'm like, no.
Because I can imagine
the supply chains dropped off on that for us, and it does suck, and it does. I guess, like, from your perspective, I understand your response didn't really affect me, so it's not like I was.
Yeah, I can imagine from your side, it was probably much harder because you're the guy that's got to say, "Oh no, we can't get that part."
Yeah,
but for me, you know, I'd still be going out riding.
Yeah,
you know?
For you, it was business as usual.
Yeah. Even now, like when BMX is obviously in a bit of like a weird place at the moment with sales and stuff, but it's the same shit. Still going to the park on a Saturday morning. Still go if I wanted to go and film something, I'd hit up Martin and get out and film it. Like it's not. I don't know if I sound selfish with it by saying like it doesn't affect me, but I just I'm still gonna love riding. I'm still gonna be riding.
It's not selfish, Isaac, at all. I think for me, what I'm trying to get at in a roundabout way is that, well, like I just say, it's like it became difficult. We had a guy who was riding a Mankind frame at the shop, and you know, and then we get people asking about it, and then when we couldn't get it because unfortunately James didn't do it anymore. It's a shame, and it's the same with Fly. Like I've just given, it is a massive shame when support drops off for shops. But at the same time, I can, like I say, 110% respect your response, which is that, you know what, it didn't really affect me because, you know, I'm doing my thing. And, and that's an absolutely ample response. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So really, that's quite exclusive news. I'm very impressed that you've kept that under wraps and saved it for me.
Yeah.
Or it feels that way anyway.
Well, it's literally this week. You know, I called Christoph. I just had the chat. You know,
it's nice that you've had that chat and you've said that chat.
And it was quite important to me to call him and not email him.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, just because, you know, he's helped me out for years and years.
Yeah.
So I just owed him that. Definitely, yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, what a way to
I guess
to draw the chat to a conclusion. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Isaac, listen, there's a couple of things. Firstly, obviously, thank you
thank you, mate,
for making the trip all the way up here, because it ain't round the corner.
No, that's fine, mate. Weekend with the boys. It's
weekend with the boys, like indeed.
Yeah.
And you know, like I say, the whole thing came about because, you know, I think it was just on Instagram. You'd said something about you really enjoyed Owen's podcast, and I was sat there and I was like, Isaac Lesser said he really enjoyed my podcast.
Oh mate,
I was like, if this is an opening for a conversation, I don't know what is. No. I'm like, I'm going to hit Isaac up straight away.
I'm hyped to do it, mate.
I've hinted at it a couple of times during the conversation, mate. Your riding speaks for itself.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You've always, you know, every time I've been to a competition and seen you ride, straight smashing it, straight out the park, like that instance at D-side last year, just dropping in, boom, you know, and there was no warm-ups. It was bang, straight to full throttle. And there's not many people who can do that, mate. So I really appreciate you coming up and sharing your story with us. And
thank you. No, thanks for having me, mate.
Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend north of the border.
Yeah. We'll go ride, have some food. It'll be good, mate.
Sweet.
Nice one. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, Isaac.
Thank you.